Kill la Kill, an anime about friendship, murder, and magical clothes, with plenty of ecchi, comedy, and fighting, only now as a game. I'm Primalliquid, and welcome to my review for Kill la Kill, the game, If. Before we jump into things though, I do need to mention a couple of bits of information. Firstly, I did receive this game for free from Arc and Studio Trigger, however that will play no part of my review and it will be completely impartial. Secondly, they have placed a large number of restrictions on what I can talk about due to the embargo, so please take what I say with a grain of salt and look up more reviews after it officially releases on the 25th of July, just so you can get a better understanding of everything. And finally, this is not going to be a super in-depth review where I break apart every aspect of the game. This will be a simple review covering gameplay, graphics, length, is it worth the cost, and a few small issues. Now, if you could leave a comment and a like on the video, because that would be awesome and it helps a lot. So, with that said, let's jump into things. Firstly, we'll talk about the graphics. Kill la Kill the anime had an interesting animation style, and while they tried to keep that true in the game, I very much dislike how they went with cel-shaded graphics instead of a normal animation for the cutscenes. There were parts that just look out of place and weird when compared to the anime, and while bearable, are very noticeable. Then there is also the issue of severe desynced mouth movement. I've tried this with both English and Japanese dub, and the lip movement doesn't match either language. And while not a major thing to me, it shows laziness or being rushed to get the game out. I would have liked a little more attention to detail here, given how very noticeable it is, especially since in some parts of the story there is lip movement with no talking and talking with no lip movement. As for during gameplay, the environments are rather bland with nothing going on in them and very lacking in diversity. The amount of fighting arenas in game can be counted on one hand. All in all, the graphics are bearable, but the choice to go cel-shaded was a bad one, and the lack of effort or attention to the lip syncing and environments is a heartbreak considering how popular the anime actually was. So, for graphics, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Now on to gameplay. This at least sort of sticks true to the anime as a fighting game. You have 3 main attacks, 3 special attacks, and 1 power-up ability. You have a close range, long range, and a guard break attack. Then you have special versions of these 3 which do a marginal bit more damage. And finally, the power-up is more of a rock, paper, scissors minigame, which I couldn't really notice any difference and honestly ended up just ignoring for most of the game, given how small the bonuses you actually got were. Now, combos are kinda clunky and often end up breaking due to no fault of your own. There is even worse in the Battle Royale style fight or the free-for-all fight where there are multiple targets to attack, since you can't choose who the game locks onto and it switches around at rather stupid moments. Combined with poor hit detection leaves a lot to be desired, and it feels more like an indie dev game rather than an experienced game company. The gameplay is also extremely lacking from hard locks on combos, only a handful of character selections, very few arenas, a shockingly small move pool, and having to spend 5 to 10 minutes just wailing on a person because the game decides for this fight you should only be doing minuscule amounts of damage. It doesn't exactly make it very enjoyable once the novelty of a Kill la Kill game wears off. Now, considering it's a fighting game and everything I've just said, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 due to 99% of the time you're just going to be pressing one button all fight, and considering it's a fighting game, it's lacking the most fundamental aspect, combo strings. Now onto the length of the game. The game features a story mode, a versus mode where you can play locally or online, and a challenge survival mode. Versus would be okay for when you want to play with friends, but I really don't see the online being popular given the lack of enjoyment from the combat. Along with likely small sale figures, I imagine you would be able to find fights online for the first couple of weeks before it dies out completely. Survival challenges are boring, repetitive, and offer no real rewards, and can be cleared effortlessly by pressing one button over and over again. That leaves us with the story. Now, the basic plot of the game starts on episode 8 of the anime before completely derailing into its own mini-story. It's a what-if scenario. So, what if this happened, or what if that happened, instead of following the anime plot. And there are only 2 story chapters, one for Satsuki and one for Ryoko. The problem here is, even though the anime's main character is Ryoko, the game focuses too much on Satsuki and has her as the lead character. In order to play Ryoko's story, you must first complete Satsuki's, and have no fear with that because it's short. Very, very, very short. Each story mode will take about an hour and a half to finish, and the worst part of that is only about 15 minutes of that time is actual gameplay. The vast majority of it is cutscenes. To make matters even worse, the story for both characters is almost identical. There are a few differences and a couple of different fights in each story, but for the most part, just a literal copy and paste, with the only difference being who you control. So if you don't like the idea of online play or want this just for the story, be prepared to finish the game in about the same time as a movie would take. The only difference is, this is 4 times the cost of a movie ticket. Now, I know it's a fighting game and it's likely going to be short given how much material they had from the anime and the fact it has its own unique storyline. I am shocked beyond words with how little gameplay there actually is in the story mode. And because of that, I'm giving it a 2 out of 10 for length. Now, let's wrap things up with talking about the cost, issues I've come across, and my final score for the game. Given the game is releasing at full retail price, the only thing I can really say is, lol, what? Even as a major fan of the anime, £50 for this game is an insult to the fanbase, especially when you consider the fact they are more than likely going to be shoving DLC and microtransactions down your throat. Given how stupidly high the point requirements are to unlock things in-game and how low the amount of points you get are, I feel abused by the developers. I honestly feel this game is not worth more than £15, and that is being very generous and is honestly being affected by my love for the anime. But one thing is for sure, it's not even close to being worth full retail price, especially when you factor in the issues I've spoke about in this video already. Bad lip syncs, messy hitboxes, frame rate drops, a handful of freezes, extremely high requirements to unlock character poses and OST, or original soundtracks, to the point it leads me to believe they are simply gonna sell the points as microtransactions, just like how EA did with Star Wars. Now, lack of characters, no real combo strings, and lack of content. Even as a fan, I can't condone this game. Don't buy it at full retail price. If you feel you must get this game, wait for it to drop, which honestly won't take very long at all, I imagine. So, to wrap things up, I'm going to give this game a 4 out of 10. There are better things for you to spend your money on, don't waste it on this. But I would like to thank you all for watching this review, and if you have any questions, please feel free to comment down below and I will do my best to answer any and all questions you might have. If you're new around here, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon to get notified for all my future content. And if you want to help support the channel, consider becoming a member. There are multiple different price ranges for memberships, all with great rewards, and there is a link down below in the description for you to learn more. But, as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all soon.